Live from Studio A, WTLK, The Thunder.
Last week on the 13th, James Gunn tweeted out a picture with the full list of the cast, at least so far that they want to reveal, of 2021's The Suicide Squad, the reboot, not really sequel, maybe sequel to the 2016 movie Suicide Squad. So the list goes as such, and pardon me, I'm going to absolutely butcher some of these names. David Dastmalchian from The Dark Knight and the two Ant-Man movies. John Cena, please tell me he's going to be playing somebody with invisibility powers. Jay Courtney reprising his role as Captain Boomerang. Joaquin Cosio, Firefly's Nathan Fillion. Joel Kinnaman reprising his role as Rick Flag. Mei Ling Ning, Flula Borg. Sean Gunn, who played, forget his name, but he was like Major Ravager in both Guardians of the Galaxy movies, and obviously James Gunn's brother. Juan Diego Bodo, Storm Reed, the girl from A Wrinkle in Time if you need a little memory jog. Pete Davidson, yeah, that Pete Davidson. Taika Waititi, you know him as the voice of Korg in Thor Ragnarok and Avengers Endgame, and he was the director of Thor Ragnarok and also the movie of What We Do in the Shadows. Alice Braga, Steve Agee, Tinashe Kajisi, Daniela Melchior, Peter Capaldi, so you've got a doctor in the squad, Julio Ruiz, Jennifer Holland, Viola Davis reprising her role as Amanda Waller, Idris Elba as somebody that's not Deadshot, I guess, Michael Rooker, who, you know, as Yondu from both Guardians movies, and Merle on The Walking Dead, and Henry Portrait of a Serial Killer. Very big guy. And last but not least, and this is the most important but also the most obvious, Margot Robbie returning as Harley Quinn. The one who is possibly least in danger in the DC universe of being recast because, hello, stole the show in Suicide Squad, have Birds of Prey coming out in February. I mean, come on. She's got job security there when it seems like we can't even keep a damn Batman or Superman. Anyways, next up, this past Wednesday, Spider-Man #1, written by J.J. Abrams and his son Henry Abrams, with art by Sarah Pichelli, was released to mixed reviews on social media, because it's social media. But Wheatley on History Comic Books reviewed it in his latest episode, which was also part 1 of the history of Joe Kubert, and he gives it a thumbs up, so that's good enough for me, and that should be good enough for you. But I trust you already knew that, because you should already be listening to History Comic Books podcast, and if you're not, well, you're probably an asshole. Last Monday on Raw, oh my god, there was plenty of banter in between of Seth Rollins and The Fiend, Bray Wyatt. Like, there's actually multiple Firefly Funhouse segments, which is like a dream come true for me. And it all came to a very fitting end, which I'll get to in a little bit. The King of the Ring finals that was supposed to happen at Clash of Champions took place, and Baron Corbin defeated Chad Gable to become the 2019 King of the Ring. Oh, great. There was a gender reveal party for Maria Kanellis' baby, and there was the most random assortment of superstars and WWE employees. Like, you had Sarah Schechter and Kayla Braxton, two of the interviewers, the usual interviewers for Raw. You had Ricochet, you had Sarah Logan, you had Titus O'Neil. It was so random. And Maria said, and obviously this is not the case, IRL, that Ricochet, boyfriend to American Ninja Warrior badass Casey Catanzaro, was the father. And then she went out to the ring after Ricochet defeated her husband, Mike Kanellis, very easily and said, the real father is actually Rusev. And he came out and kicked Mike Kanellis' ass. And it's interesting because Rusev hasn't been seen on WWE television, I don't know, since they made him do that random tag team with Shinsuke Nakamura, which lasted like maybe 2 matches, including the house show that was in Greenville in February. But yeah, Rusev's back. He's got a pretty legit mustache too. Also in 24/7 news, the 24/7 championship that is, the mayor of Knox County, Glenn Jacobs, took R-Truth on a tour around Knoxville and even showed him the University of Tennessee Stadium, the same University of Tennessee that lost to Georgia State a couple weeks ago. And Glenn Jacobs got a referee, and R-Truth ran away and knocked himself out on a pole, and he pinned him to become 24/7 champion. And then R-Truth took it back later on after Mayor Jacobs got out of the limousine, and they called Truth. By the way, spoiler alert in case you weren't aware, Mayor Jacobs is also Kane. Sasha versus Becky for the Raw Women's Championship in Hell in a Cell was announced. Seth Rollins was ganged up on after having a match with Robert Roode by Roode, Ziggler, the OC, all the same usual. But then he was saved by Mayor Kane himself, except he was in full Kane garb and not suit and tie. And then Kane made short work of all of them while Seth was being very hurt in the corner. And then, of course, as expected, the lights went out and the Fiend came out and Mandible clawed Kane. So I guess... oh, and then he crawled up to Seth, and it seemed like he was like sniffing him and smelling his fear. And it was a pretty amazing moment, deserving only of the Fiend. And I guess we know what 11/19 probably means, because that was the actual debut of Mark Calloway as Kane the Undertaker 3 days before Survivor Series 1990, where he was officially brought in as the Undertaker. Or maybe there could be some big shit happening in November involving the Fiend. I guess we'll see. There was this past weekend a house show in Calgary where Seth and the Fiend had a Universal Championship match. Now, these are usually non-canon, and there are sometimes championship switches in house shows, but it was very rare. In fact, EC3 actually won the 24/7 championship in Manila, and R-Truth took it back, and then EC3 got it back somewhere in China, and then R-Truth has it now, I believe. Anyway, yeah, house shows. Like 99% of the time, championship matches, they end up retaining because they usually like to save championship switchovers to TV, obviously. So, of course, really, the Fiend was probably not going to win the Universal Championship at a house show in Canada. But the question is, how do you protect the Fiend and make him the big threat without getting beaten by Seth? Well, they just had the Fiend Mandible claw Seth, and up until the referee made the Fiend lose by disqualification. So it'll be really, really interesting to see how Hell in a Cell is going to end, because the Fiend could either lose clean or they could find some way to... Like, the Fiend probably won't lose clean, or maybe Seth won't lose. I don't know. What do you think for Hell in a Cell? Over on SmackDown, Kofi Kingston got a horrible surprise, a very nightmarish surprise, when Brock Lesnar came out and challenged him for the WWE Championship, and that will be taking place the premiere of Friday Night SmackDown on October 4th. Also happening during that night, The Undertaker will be speaking, and we'll see if The Fiend will try to buck up to him. It is the go home show for Hell in a Cell, so anything can happen. Also, Kevin Owens is suing Shane McMahon for $25 million and the right to tell Shane McMahon that he's fired. Obviously, this is in the story, but who knows? I could have sworn that Kevin Owens was just going over to NXT, but he never showed up. Maybe I should stop reading wrestling internets and just listen to WTLK The Thunder, where we just tell you what happened. Charlotte got ganged up on by Bayley and Sasha, and I don't know, part of me was kind of hoping that Becky would come out to her aid. Like, are they trying to get them to be friends again? Reluctant friends? What is this? But no, Carmella came to her aid, so now Carmella's in this story, and who knows what's going to happen with that. Seems like Carmella's pulling double duty, occasionally poking her head in women's division business, but mostly just trying to help R-Truth retain the 24/7 championship. Not once has she ever tried to take the belt off Truth. Carmella is a true friend. I guess she really learned her lesson with the whole James Ellsworth thing. NXT, the USA Network premiere was Sunday night, or not Sunday night, Wednesday night. And it started off with a fatal four-way to decide the number one contender for to face Shayna Baszler for the NXT Women's Championship. It was Candice LeRae, Io Shirai, Bianca Belair, and Mia Yim, and Candice LeRae won. So so she got her revenge on Evil Io, and we won't have Evil Io versus Shayna quite yet. So it'll be Candice LeRae versus Shayna Baszler for the NXT Women's Championship on October 2nd. And then, ooh boy. Ooh boy. There was a prophecy that's been told that just seemed like hot air over the last couple years, that the Undisputed Era will be draped in championship gold, as in the tag team titles, the NXT Championship, and the North American Championship. And they've all held it at, like, pretty much each of the titles at different times. I mean, I'm pretty sure Adam Cole himself has held literally each of those titles individually himself, but it really hasn't been anything like nope, they haven't held it all at the same time. But then Adam Cole won it from Johnny Gargano back in June at that takeover 25, I believe. Kyle O'Reilly and Bobby Fish won the tag titles from Street Profits about a month or so ago. I don't know, you can go back and trace that WTLK. But there was always that pesky North American Championship, which feels like it's been pretty much held by the Velveteen Dream all year long. And, I mean, Roderick Strong, he's been trying to step up and get it. He had to do that whole triple threat with Pete Dunne and Velveteen Dream. He had to burn Velveteen Dream's couch a couple weeks ago to get it. But now he finally got his one-on-one singles match against Velveteen Dream on the USA premiere of NXT, and it was the main event. And he won it. So the Undisputed Prophecy is now fulfilled. The Undisputed Era is now draped in championship gold. If they could, I'm sure they would probably invite Shayna Baszler to join their group if she didn't even really have her own, because she does have her friends Jessamine Duke and Marina Shafir, who is married to Roderick Strong, the North American champion, who has completed the Undisputed Era prophecy. So, follow your dreams, kids. It'll take many years, but you can fulfill your own prophecy. Boom! And speaking of factions, Imperium, I've told you about them from NXT UK. They invaded NXT over at Full Sail Studios in Orlando, and Walter pretty much layeth the smackdown on Kushida's opponent, the guy that was supposed to be Kushida's opponent. So Kushida came out and challenged Walter to a match, so that should be happening here soon. And then finally, the main event for Hour 2 of NXT, which took place on the WWE Network, was the original bro Matt Riddle versus some whatever sort of Irish monster Killian Dane is. An insane one, I might say, to a street fight, and it was probably the most cameo-filled street fight I ever saw, because it went from the ring through the crowd into the backstage area. It drew ire from Walter, who started beating on Matt Riddle, and then like the Forgotten Sons got involved somehow, and basically the whole damn locker room got involved in a big old brawl that spilled out from the backstage area into the arena. So of course that match was just ended at no decision because it was too chaotic. And once it was over, in a WWE.com exclusive video, it shows the aftermath of the general manager William Regal coming out, and he was very much not happy with what had transpired. So he told Riddle and Dane that they'll be fighting again in a street fight. I believe it's next week, which will be this coming Wednesday, 2 days from post date. They'll be fighting in another street fight, and he was like, I'll give you some motivation. The winner of that match can face Adam Cole for the NXT Championship. So yeah, and Matt Riddle was very happy about that, because that'll be his first NXT Championship opportunity, because he had one for the North American Championship that he lost a few months ago, but he's never challenged for the NXT Championship. So he's ready, I'm ready, the WWE Universe is ready. Also, WTLK, the Thunder is ready, and that's where you should keep it locked. Drink, fight, and make those ancestors proud.